First thing that maybe Tanu has worked on it, we'll talk about kart racing case study. And after that, Abir will explain us about the biases. And then we'll open the floor for the questions and answers. So please, it's over to Tanu. Tanu.
I was just talking to Subrat only that we started, in fact, I was not sure also, but finally I could see my name, so no worries. So thank you. Mustafa, before you join, I think we got opportunity to interact with Subrat, and we are interacting that it's a great opportunity once again to revisit the learning what we had because we all were in a hurry and I was not sure that how I have concluded. So I started with pretty big excitement of attending some of the video session and followed by the interest taper off gradually. So the Carter, I mean, I've not prepared anything, but what I have submitted and probably I can just share my experience, my thought. And last time also we are discussing with Professor Ariapolis that this assignment is there is no right answer, there is no wrong answer, or so on and so forth. It's just about how you logically or how you are, what is your logic, what is your thought process in terms of this assignment which was given to you. So when I read the assignment, it was absolutely for the first time I read the assignment, and then basis that reading and my understanding, my personal take was that we don't have the adequate data, and basis that only, so I have submitted my assignment that I need more data to proceed with, otherwise probably it would be a big no. Why? There are reason to that also. Some of the reason, if I can actually if I revisit that, that almost 30% cases the car has failure, so it has not performed out of 24 race, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, out of 24 times, 7 times the car has failed. So almost 29% plus cases the car has failed. There are a few occasions it has actually completely, you know, um, it has not worked. Plus, if I see the contradictory statement between the main engineer and the other automobile engineer, right? I mean, I'm unable to recollect the name. Robin in one person, and the other person was the engineer, and both of them were making a contradictory statement. One person is saying that is the reason is because of the gasket. The other person is said just it is like a race, and you got to take chances and so on and so forth. So considering that, what I believe is that if we consider to participate in this race, the chances of damage would be more versus the reputation versus earning monetary gains. Because what I see that if that car explode once again during the race period, and that is what the temperature was predicting to, that 40 degree Fahrenheit plus, then the loss is that we are going to lose the Goodyear contract. Then we are also going to lose what is that called? Complete reputation in front of national TVs. Yeah, you would be exposed and so on and so forth. So I think the damage is more. And if I decide not to participate, also suppose in this decision-making process, if I'm delayed because I have got 1 hour window, and if I don't get adequate information to take informed decision, then my thought is that if I don't take a decision and if I don't participate, the only thing what I'm going to lose is hardly the entry fees what I have submitted about 30K, and I'll only get a refund of 15K, and out of which this 30K, which is actually paid by my one of my sponsor Goodyear, I'm sorry, Goodyear Tire. So eventually, I'm not taking a huge loss at the junction financially because I'm already having a deficit of 80,000. And then if I don't participate also, I'm not exposing myself to financial loss that much. So that was my entire overall thought process. Considering that, because we really don't know what is the real reason for this engine is blowing up, and considering the temperature, considering the forecast what we have, the chances of reputation loss is more, chances of financial damage would be more if we participate versus if I don't. So if I don't get adequate information, my reason would be not to participate. But still, since I have got 1 hour window, I can reach out to both the stakeholders to maybe as a manager, as a leader, what I'll do, I'll bring all the stakeholders on the same table and get the right answer that why, what could be the reason, and then finally I can take the decisions. So that was my entire thought process. Considering the information available, my thought was not to, immediately don't go ahead, just get more information.
Okay,
So I can pause here.
let me add what Atanu is saying. Uh, I think this case study, they have developed it in a very nice way, because after this case study, we studied 4 or 5 different type of biases. So actually in this case study, all those biases exist. There is emotions, there are, the time constraint, there is narrow framing, all those things are there in this case study. And last time when we were having a discussion with the Professor Iris, I asked him this question, that what should be the right decision, and as he explained, he said, if you look at the data that was in this case study, that data was similar data what NASA engineer was having in that incident. So running that shuttle or whatever it was the NASA did was not the right decision. So in this case, having the similar data, running a car race would not be the right decision. So we need to look at from this angle that what type of biases are there. Even in NASA cases, they were having, the pressure, the stakeholders, the program was very much, and people of America was looking at that program. So there were so many biases, and even in this case, Carter race, it is similar thing. So they develop. Even I asked professor the question that is it the real Carter race case study? Is it the real or it is just a fiction? He said it is a fiction, but it was based on the NASA case study. So we just, flip that data and everything in this so that people can understand. So the right decision would be not to race because of so many things. So there are almost all 4 or 5 biases were there in this case if you are making the decision to run the race. So anyone would like to add something, please?
Yeah, please. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, I had other thought in this case study when I read, and I, as an entrepreneur, we always take risks. So I had opted to go for racing. But when the professor explained the whole biases and other things, then I also figured out, yes, there were so many biases in the case study. One more thing I got to know from Mustafa, that it was a fictitious. It was not real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fictitious, yeah.
Because there were 2-3 points as entrepreneurs, we always take bit of a risk. So keeping that in my mind, I thought that we should go for racing, because we'll be losing the reputation. Money, of course, will be losing if you don't race. And once you don't race, then you are out of the race for your future projects also. I mean, the future races also. So since it is a fictitious to make us understand more about bias rather than going into reality, that is what I finally concluded. And as you rightly, Atanu, and explained, there was no data actually, but I thought in a different angle, and I opted to raise that time. Now
that is what I said. It is always the case. Like your thought process would be absolutely, you would be coming from a different perspective versus me versus the others, and that is how we learn from each other. Because probably I could have ignored that side.
That's true. That's true. That is the beauty of discussing with different walks of people from different lines. So we'll get to know more about decision making.
Yeah.
Very true.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just to add a specific point in this regard, Mustafa, you mentioned about this NASA, which is a Challenger, the spaceship, and I think I've attended something that I could relate with the bias. The bias is the short-term emotion or the pressure, but there is something that have stemmed from that as a resolution tactic. I've attended back in 2013 or 14 GE and the suburb of GE, Notting Hill, and near New York, and they have mentioned this as a lesson to be learned from. It was the pressure, and they showed us the investigation videos actually that have happened after this explosion, and they were like investigating the situation from a perspective of body language. They noticed that one of the junior engineers had certain body language amongst the group in the meeting, And they noticed that the senior manager, who used to be a very firm lady, and from her body language or facial expression, he kind of hesitated to express his own inputs. And they found out that his input could have prevented this explosion, but he was avoiding this because he was scared from her as being his senior.
Yes, yes.
So from that, they stemmed this, what they called from a management perspective, that a leader should provide what's called psychological safety to encourage the juniors and the subordinate to come forward and the forthcoming of expressing their whatever. It can be critique or it can be worries or concerns, even though it has an impact on the, the higher pressures or the public opinions. So they reach to this psychological safety from the experience itself. So I think things are related, they don't come straightforward, linear aspects.
Yeah. So just for me to add a few things. Actually, I was quite like Vilayat on this case study. A few things happened. I think it's also about what kind of mental frame you're on and what kind of what stage of what kind of work are you doing. So in the past three to 4 years, I've been working with a company which has a Chinese origin. They're very strong in China in terms of data analytics and AI, but overseas they forgot to build too many systems, right? So I mean, so because they understand that the end point, and then they do not know what the rest of the industry has been doing organically, building systems and processes, and so they are on a nodal stage, right? One side they have nothing in the overseas markets, and then they're very, very strong with robotics and AI and machine learning capabilities. So they have absolute data in China, and they have no data overseas. So what we do is we use our best guess, and so we have a very agile framework. And what we try to do is a lot of what do you say, risk taking and extreme entrepreneurship is exhibited when we go out in the market and we try to sort of fix things at a rapid pace, and a lot of fixing the airplane while it's already in the air. That kind of work happens. So having said that, for me, this Carter case should not have had other phases, and I thought this is the case. So it is either do or die, and this is the nature of the business, which means risk taking is one component of the business. And I did some basic math and tried to see that more than 50% chances that they might end up because the data is not available. So we have to make do with whatever is available. So I think great learning, because after that it opened a new window, and now the whole mindset has shifted, because for me the course is making a lot of sense, because you need to learn the objective frameworks. You need to learn things that you've been doing wrong, and so forth. So and then understanding the rest of the game. So yeah, so this I think rightfully, very rightly, it's also in the frame of mind you are, and the kind of work you're doing, and the way you're looking at things, and then you start looking at that particular aspect. So quite a remarkable, quite a contrasting impact on me, as we progress through the program. Yeah, so that's my take. Yeah.
Can I add a few points? This is Saurabh here. Good evening. So I agree to everyone. It was a good case study, a lot of learning for me as well. I also decided that they should not go for the race, and we should look at some more data. And I did a detailed analysis in terms of what more data we need to really take a decision whether we should go for the race or not. So I put a lot of additional points in terms of what additional information we should look for. And that actually was based on my experience working in my organization, wherein as an organization, one of the learnings that we are extending to the sales team is to really gather a lot of information from your customer before you actually offer a solution to the customer. So from a sales perspective also, there is a very comprehensive needs analysis that we ask the sales team to do with their customers to really understand what are their issues, what if they don't address those issues, what will be the impact on their reputation, their performance, and to clearly have a list of all those issues and gather all the information rather than suffering from the emotional bias and quickly jumping on a proposal which may not address the customer's problem or may not add any value to the customer. So I was actually relating this case study and all the learning that we got in this module with what we are doing on the ground and how does it relate to it from a customer's perspective. So it was a good learning. I think I'm still slightly challenged with the framing part, and probably if one of you can help me to really understand this based on your learnings and experience, the framing part in terms of if we take this case study into account, where did these people go wrong in framing the problem correctly? Maybe from some other example, if you can help me understand a little bit more on this.
Yeah, I think Veer has a presentation for us for all those biases. Let us
Okay.
look at that, and then we'll discuss those things maybe in details. Please.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I would go through our learnings, and I hope it's not going to be boring because you became the experts. But I
No,
thought
Abir, we cannot see the presentation, but we can see your screen. We can see folders and files.
okay, so it is still maybe loading because I already have chosen it. Sharing is paused. Bring your shared window to the front. It says that my sharing is paused. Is it something that I can deal with?
Sorry, what does it say?
My sharing is paused.
Or the host has to allow you.
Now it's okay.
No, it's, I think
Yeah.
no, it's,
Yeah.
Mustafa blocked you.
Okay,
I'm not blocking anyone. I'm asking anyone to join, everyone to join.
I highly trust Mustafa. Anyway, so this is already, I know that you became experts, but I thought those are to underpin the highlights of our learnings in terms of the decision biases. And those decision biases are actually decision traps. So as the term implies, they are non-objective decision makings. And I think we need to acknowledge that. After going through these traps, that identifying those biases is crucial to improve our decision making. What we need to know is how to frame a problem and how to identify culprits that prevent good decision making. Now, if I may express my own opinion, I think most of those biases or traps, they need a lot of out-of-the-box thinking. And I don't know if you agree with my observation. I thought they are overlapping. There are like overlapping understanding and concepts amongst those biases. So when we are talking about the data-driven decision-making, we focused on the biases. It's the conceptual part of the learning before tackling the technical part of business analytics. And for that decision-making, of course, we need to make decisions. They need not to be any decisions. We need to have the best data-driven decisions we can reach to. And to reach to that, of course, we need data. And for those data, we need to focus on a question or formulate a question according to which we choose the data. That question is supposed to be linked to the goal or the target or the objective. And those data definitely need to be the required data, not the available data. And all we need to is to differentiate the both. The first trap is the availability bias, and it is limited focus on the available data and what was described in the learning as the data on top of the disk, the data that we can envision by our own eyes. Cognitive efforts are needed not to miss significant, non-available, those which are not on top of the disk, excluded yet required. And we can tell from our experience that business as usual is blinding in that aspect. And avoidance of negative feedbacks, which is the usual attitude of managers, tend to mask their existence despite their potential significance. The nutshell recommendation is, despite the challenge of acquiring effective non-available data, it's worth the hardship. As usual, critical thinking is needed with upfront insights to consider potential significance in excluded non-available data, and cautions that people are overwhelmed by the processes at the expense of the objectives and goals. So we need to critique the process against the goal. Thus, we'll have better framing of the question and better stipulation of the required data. Professor Oraculus, I like his quote. I quoted from his teaching: move the spotlight here and there, right, left, and in the middle, despite the hardship and the higher efforts. Second trap is the short-term emotion, which is naturally something that is related to our living species as humans. I think everybody have fallen into that trap one way or another at one point or another, especially when there are high-stake decisions. So when there is this pressure-based decisions, there is a twinning with mental clouding or fogging, with over-consideration of others, if you may, be it public opinion, senior management, political leagues, or any other pressure. The pressure and emotions, they impact a key safety concern in terms of sound and objective decision-making. Now, I would like to have some kind of interactive inputs from you guys. What are the current norms? Is it culture linked or global? Now, I will say from the perspective of human living species, it is global by nature. But is it culture linked? Is it, and Mustafa highlighted, is it going to be geographic culture linked or organizational culture linked? So if you may give me your inputs, your opinions. Can I hear from you?
Anyone, please?
Yeah, Abir, hi. Thank you very much for sharing your slide. As I mean, there is no fixed right answer, so it depends on the situation. So right now, it could be global also, it could be current also. So usually it depends, yeah, I would say.
Okay.
Predominantly global, but there are local current issues also, which sometimes would compel you to take some short-term emotional decisions.
Mustafa, you want to second on
Abir, I would like to add something on this. My understanding of human emotions, it's global. It's human actually. More than global, it's human. Human being by design is not meant to make logical decisions. We make emotional decisions. And the whole behavioral economics runs around it. See, we all know what is right and wrong. We all know what data and numbers speak of. But ultimately, if you look at or reflect back on any decisions that you would have made, you will see it is by your gut, it is by your feeling, it is by your emotions that you make decisions. So short-term emotions is a very natural bias in any decision you make. It's very rational for us. Even in car race case, just trying to connect that, you would see more natural inclination would be, in spite of knowing all logics, is to go for it. Because we all believe that there's something called as intuition, gut, it will work out, it is beyond logics. Any decision that we make, be it hiring, be it firing, be it buying, be it deciding on the college, deciding on the course, any decision, even if it could be online purchase, you would believe, you look at all recommendation, every logic, but towards the end, the tipping point is your emotions. And that is what the whole behavioral economics is all about. So it's global, it's across. And this is one of the biggest trap that we come across when it is on decision making. So that's my view on this.
Kavita, I have a question. So emotions are there. This is what we know. But how we can, the counter when we are making that decision that these emotions are helping us to make the right decision, or these emotions are forcing us to make the wrong decision. How we will know, and what will be the solution? How we'll overcome?
You would know when the outcome comes. Reality is that. Only with time. So there is no right and wrong. See, we all human beings likes to believe that we are the rational animal, we are the most logical people. Nobody would like to believe that we are irrational, we are illogical. Everybody believes we are that. But at the end of the all decision that has happened, the tipping point is always the emotional piece. So,
I can actually add to, sorry.
Yeah. No, sure, Saurabh.
Yeah, so I can add to it. I think I have gone through this short-term emotions wherein I have actually ended up taking a decision which was not favorable to the organization or to my team. But at the same time, there has been a situation after my learning from the first bad experience wherein I had left the money on the table and not accepting the deal from the customer, which actually resulted in a much bigger deal from the same customer 1 year later.
That's learning.
So, that's a learning. Yeah, that's a learning. But again,
That's learning. Yeah.
Learn from my experience, and
Absolutely.
I took a decision that I leave the money on the table, but I'll close a bigger deal. And I managed to close a bigger deal to expand my understanding of the customer's needs by engaging with them more closely.
Absolutely.
And to them that what value we can add to their processes and their performance and to their users by providing a solution. So, but that only happened when I invested a lot of time in understanding what they exactly need and what's of value to them.
Absolutely. Saurabh, my one question to you would be that when you were leaving the money on the table, what was that tipping point? When you went through that crossroad of saying that I'm not going for it, was it towards the end, the logic or the rational or your gut that said I'm going to make it bigger? What made you decide?
One of the things that I actually, which was a tipping point or which triggered my decision was that if I accept this today, it might impact my other existing agreements or business. Because if I offer this to this customer today, then probably I'll have to ruin or impact my existing revenues across other customers. So that was the trigger point that, yeah, I should not accept this.
Let me give you some of mine example. Actually, I did a lot, to be honest. I made a lot of decision with short-term emotions, and especially when I was having my first startup, let's say about 8 years ago from now. When I was hiring, so my father is calling and asking me, this gentleman, please hire him in your company. So my father called him, so I hired him. One my cousin came to, and my uncle called him and I hired him. My brother-in-law, my wife asked me to hire him, so I hired him. So I made a lot of the wrong decisions, especially because of those emotions. And with the passage of time, it took me about, I can say, 6 or 7 years to understand that what I did wrong actually. So now even my wife, so she is the most influential. I never accept that she's asking me to hire someone or to do something, especially when it comes to business, and because she's saying or someone is saying I will take this decision. No, but still it is now it is different kind of emotions. Sometimes it's emotions of hate, sometimes it's emotion of love. That's still playing a role when you are making a decision. It's difficult, to be honest, to make a decision and ensuring that it is not emotional short-term emotional bias.
Great. That was your private business or was it a public business?
It's similar business. What I'm doing right now, it is actual business, to be honest.
Because my brother had fallen into that trap, but it was the private company of my father. but everybody on the family who are mediocres or below did impact the outcome of the company. I agree. Okay, can we pursue?
Sure.
On a lighter note, I just want to make a small comment. Again, this is what is based on my years of learning, is that at times when I'm really upset, when I get a communication on an email, I'm really upset and it's not in line with my expectation, I tend to not reply to that email for the next 8 hours. Because your short-term emotions end up in terms of writing something which is not professional.
Yeah.
Or,
Very powerful, very powerful, Saurabh. Very powerful.
Yes.
In fact, I follow that all the time.
Yes. I don't reply for the next 8 hours. I'll revisit 8 hours later and then put my thoughts to reply to that email. And this is important for people to understand that don't end up replying to an email which is not able.
The rule is the Chinese say sleep over it. You sleep over a problem, you rise better.
Very crucial, Surba. Thank you for underpinning this. Okay, and we're gonna continue with the second trap, the short-term emotion. The learning's recommendations actually is to take a distance from the heat and pressure and adopt external views as if it's not you who is deciding, as if it is somebody external. And that minimizes a little bit of the heat. And they focus upon the clarity moment. Sometimes we reach to that clarity moment by going to the beach, retreats, meditation, breathing exercise, whatever, but we need to get this fogging out of our minds and try to reach to the clarity moment. This is to get off the heat and rethink from all aspects. Naturally, the emotions and the data do coexist. This is a normal thing. We shouldn't freak out, but we make sure that the emotions do not overweigh the data. And from here, we move to the third trap, which is the confirmation bias. And I got a couple because the confirmation bias to me have, overlapped with others. So I needed to get more of its definitions. From Oxford Dictionary, it's the tendency to search, to interpret, favor and recall information, new evidence, or making a new decision based on one's existing or prior beliefs, values, or theories. I would like, summarize this as the comfort zone. And then the Wikipedia, this is adopted, and whatever is underlined is my interposition. It's an important type of cognitive bias that has a significant effect upon functional improvement of businesses at different levels, or even proper functioning of societies, by distorting the evidence-based decision-making, or I think it's more of distorting the objective decision-making. The impacts are having limited person-based distorted decision-makings that is confirming and entrenching any shortcoming or any potential shortcoming. And the recommendation, again, we are going around being brave with critical thinking to adopt and propose a disconfirming evidence, to test the opposite evidence, and being open to constructive criticism, negative feedbacks, as well as challenging the positive feedbacks. Are they coming from a neutral or objective stance or not? Moving on to trap number 4, which is the narrow framing. Now, what is narrow framing? It's about, as if we are creating boundaries or window and looking at the issues or the problems through that window. The concept is that we create the boundaries. We create the frames of the window. That means that we are creating this window in order to see something and miss others. There are some parts or some details are included within our sight or visionary field, and some details are outside that we cannot even look at if we frame it in a certain way. So they are focusing on how narrow or wide is your framing. So it's about putting boundaries and creating windows through which you identify the problem. With that, there could be different or even opposite attitude, behavior for the same value, like monetary value or any other value. Usually decisions are made based on mental frame or window, and that was called mental bucketing. As you can see, we are putting our brain within a bucket. So people tend to place events or details inside or outside the buckets. They decide what's inside and what's outside, even though they are not aware. Even for the same problem, the bucket is the window of the frame, and this is called, it's called behavioral economic language. This is the science behind it. The recommendations is to, I don't know how practical actually, and yesterday Mustafa have asked very practical question or pragmatic question. How much of this we are adopting in our daily business? Because the recommendation of neuroframing is frequent revisiting of the frame of the question, define the reference point or yardstick in order to create measurables of successes like solving the problem, and question your frame, consider other relevant frames, and make sure you are not analyzing data or drawing conclusion while you think you are framing. Most of the managers, they think they are framing while are doing something else like drawing conclusion or analyzing. And when you interact with that, they think that framing as per they were required to do, it's more of brainstorming rather than actual work. Trap number 5, which is the last one, and it has something to do with my own experience, is the overconfidence. I like this term, the guesstimate range, which is estimation by guessing. Usually it is over or underestimated, but it is related to the experience. The more you are experienced, the more you tend to have it. It's related to the prior experience, the comfort zone of decisions. And this is usually evident with the higher or senior or more experienced management because of their overwhelming experiences. However, it's all pervasive in scientific work. So the recommendation is, as long as you are towards ambitious plan, make sure you are realistic and objective. Make sure the data are correctly validated. Make sure the resources are effectively allocated in order not to miss, or overlook certain details by the overconfidence. Now, my own experience have looked at the overconfidence from another flip. It's a less rather more experience. The less knowledge stemmed overconfidence. I've seen that maybe 6 years back when our managerial platforms have been changing. And I don't know if I'm going to call it the fashion or the contemporary situation where the, global connections, the network have resulted in something new, a factor that is not quite mentioned in the learning. The managerial assignments, I'm talking about in my experience and my organization, and even higher than the organization, the governmental industry I relate to, the impactful positions, I mean the very high positions, where the people are assigned based on the connections and their impressive outlooks, more than being right fit. And you see, and that they are humble capacities in terms of knowledge and competencies. I don't know, there is a French writer, he's an academician or scholar in one of the, I think, Quebec University, maybe McGill or something. And he wrote a book talking about mediocrity industry. And he talked about how people are being assigned based on their connections, and they make sure that the very talented people are not assigned because they will demonstrate their shortcomings. And this is kind of a mushrooming situation happening. I could witness this since last 6 years. And I was very upset until I found this graph, Dunning-Kruger graph. I found it back in 2014, and it kind of reassured me when it came to what is this graph is saying. This graph is actually a Nobel Prize winning graph. It's talking about the relation between the confidence and the experience. Now, as the experience is getting more, the confidence demonstrates different things. So near the 0% experience or knowledge in the specific industry, the confidence can reach to 100%. With more experience, this confidence goes down until it goes real down. The confidence goes real down with more experience. And then with more experience, and they kind of describe the experience is the knowledge specific or industry specific knowledge. With more knowledge, the confidence goes very slowly, goes up, builds up very slowly until it reaches to the expert level, where confidence never goes back to the level it started from. And there are different versions where the start points near zero knowledge or experience, I'm so great. Then with more knowledge, I know nothing. Then with more and more knowledge, I'm pretty good, but know my limitations. And another nice version of this graph is with the initial near zero knowledge, I know everything. Then gradually there is more to this than I thought. Then I'm never going to understand this when the confidence goes down. Then with rebuilding the confidence gradually and logically, it's starting to make sense. Then trust me, it's complicated. And this is, it's another bias, another trap, different than the overconfidence that comes from the experience. And I really like this Dunning-Kruger effect because it reassured me about how things are happening. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Abir. It's really nice, and definitely I would love if you can share your presentation with through WhatsApp or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
It will be good for us.
Thank you, Abir. It's a great presentation.
Thank you very much.
It was really good.
Applauds. It's really done well, and especially the last one, really loved it.
Yeah.
The graph was beautiful, and yes, that's really the right state when we start doing it. The difference between confidence and overconfidence, the swing that happens, absolutely well put.
Actually, I wanted to add on one bias, that is the overconfidence. Basically, until now, this is my third startup. So I was having my first startup in 2012.
Mustafa, we will name you Mr. Startup now.
Yeah, that's true. So I was having my first startup in 2012, and then it was in 2014, and this is in 2000, at the end of 17, early stage of 2018. So my first startup went excellent. I was having a major partner who was having a good experience, and even the market at that time was at its boom. So we created a company that was the first auto pipe spooling plant in mechanical field in Saudi Arabia. So from zero to, I can say, more than $100 million, we created within one year, 1.5 years. But because of my partner was, I don't want to say anything about him, maybe it will be another bias, but I could not continue with him. So I left that and I started a new one. So the experience that I got in my first startup, where I made about $100 million in 1 year. It was more than 500 employees and excellent projects, and we were running in the area of Eastern region of Saudi Arabia. So I was overconfidence, not only overconfidence. So I spent again the lot of money, lot of investment, lot of investors' money, and I tried to, did the same thing again, but I miserably failed. So I could not make that successful. So this was, and I think if I just give the monetary value to it, it was more than maybe 50 million, but I lost in our second startup. So this is the overconfidence that can make you, in very bad situations, especially when you try to do what you did already and you think that you are expert and everything will be the same as it was before, because there is always a lot of new things, a lot of new challenges that you will face. This is just I wanted to add.
Mustafa, I can just add on to a term in management language. It's called script of success. So the problem with script of success is what has helped you succeed in one situation, one role. We believe that that will help us succeed in that same formula will help us take it. So, that is where we all fail. And this whole trap comes across. I mean, we can call it different names, but script of success, when we try to repeat it, that is where we fail. And if you remember when Kishore was taking this, there was this very famous thing he said, what got you here will not get you there.
Yeah.
The major problem is the same thing. It's a script of success that makes us believe that, oh, I've done it, I can do it. It's the same thing I've been doing for 25 years. And suddenly, if you see globally, the major problem is there is the whole skill change that is happening. It's again because of the same thing. We stopped learning. People stopped developing themselves. And they believe that I know it all. 20 years, 50 years, I've done the same thing. And I will succeed irrespective. Now the scenarios have changed, pandemic has happened, all various reasons, external environment is so dynamic. And that's where half of the people are struggling to stay updated when it comes to skills. So yeah, very well said. And Mustafa, I must say it takes courage to always accept your mistakes. I mean, if you've failed in life, to accept and share. Very bold of you, really, thank you.
How is your health, Mustafa, after that?
Perfect.
Oh, what happened? Did I miss something?
In Saudi Arabia, maybe Mustafa knows that people have got immersed in the stocks market, and sometimes they are overconfident based on prior gaining, and then a lot of health problems have elicited from that experience.
Alhamdulillah, I'm absolutely fine.
Alhamdulillah. Is it similar to Kodak photography? Is
No.
this similar experience with, because they stopped, they were just repeating their own technology and they were not updating it. So the business of photography is different than what they used to be.
I don't know anything about photography. This business was purely industrial manufacturing.
Yeah. Great.
So guys, I want to share one. So
That's true. Okay, let's proceed in this. I think we have very little time now, but we need to, I think, discuss for the next week's webinar. We are going to cover the second week of the study. And the way I did this time, as I said, still my apologies to all of you because I just put everything from my mind. I just want you to share that how we can make it more productive, how we can learn from each other, and how we can cover those topics that is going to come in the second week, and who is going to present in this. I am really thankful to Abir. She made this presentation yesterday, and I requested her last night, Nate, please make the presentation again today. So we learn. But I want this to be, in a nice way distributed. Everyone should come and contribute and share the thoughts on the course itself. So, what is the suggestion? How we can make it better?
First of all, I have a question, Mustafa. Will it be 2 sessions every week, or how? Or we are going to compile in one, like the weekdays or weekends?
Actually, we have very tight competition between BJP and Congress, so we have to, make it somehow that everyone, can take part. Yeah.
Because sometimes becomes a challenge again, isn't it? If we all agree on one a weekday or a weekend, so that becomes participants also will be more.
Yeah.
That is my opinion.
Yeah, actually, I think 2 of us, myself and Abir, we were there yesterday, and we were having total 9. So 2 of us again are, no, Tajuddin also was there yesterday. So 3 we were yesterday and today again.
Yes,
yeah, I wasn't there.
And the remaining are the same number of people. So they were not able to join today.
Yeah, my thoughts are a little divided because that is what, when you are managing a different time zone and different priorities and commitment, it is always good to have option 1 and option 2 so that let people join as per their convenience instead of just, because you might be busy. Like yesterday, being Sunday was the first weekday for us, and I was, super busy, literally, I could say.
What was the experience from webinars from Cambridge? I think everybody attends the webinars. Are they, the time allocation, is it better?
Okay,
What
to
is your
me,
question, Abir? We could not understand your question.
I'm talking about the webinars from the faculty. It could, assemble most of the people. So is it something that they chose better timing, or what is the reason behind, their time allocation? Other than that, maybe we need one in the weekend, one in the weekdays, because there are two cohorts in this.
I think your question is very important and very tricky. Normally, we are giving more importance to the faculty webinar. That's all. Nothing other than this.
Very true.
Yeah. So that is why all of us are.
Rajat wants to say something. Yes.
Yeah, so I think to me, for instance, in UAE and some other parts, yesterday was the first day of the week. To me, in Nigeria, today is my first day of the week. As I'm attending this meeting, I have an official meeting that I have to just reduce the volume because this is important as well, and I need to listen to. So maybe we should avoid Mondays. If we want to do during the week, let's avoid Mondays, and I would prefer just one session. Like yesterday, the content of yesterday's conversation and today is a bit different. Understand? For instance, the part that we had around experience of other market opportunities, it didn't come in today. Yesterday, we had a robust conversation around that. So if we can align the session to be one, but let's avoid Sunday or Monday so that everybody will have equal participation.
Actually, ideally, probably Friday and Saturday, I don't know. I mean, just I'm throwing some idea. And Friday would be like, for me, is a holiday. For others would be weekend, kind of a starting of weekend. So probably, I'm not sure, Friday and Saturday, if that's possible. Monday, I think day one is always busy for wherever you go. People would be relatively busy on day one for any week. I'll leave it to you, but I think one more thought came to me, Mustafa, when I earlier discussed you and me, and I heard you today also, like you're talking about coaching, and coaching plays a very important role. So I don't know if you guys are okay. Recently, as I said, I was not the facilitator, but I attended one of the coaching sessions, and which is like one of the top faculties globally. They are from Imperial Business School. And I know them last 3 years. I've been working with them. So two amazing faculties. But coaching is a very, very useful for any managers. Like just you can self-coach yourself also. So you don't need a coach to coach you. So kind of thing. There are certain techniques. So if you guys want, maybe I can quickly, provide some perspective about coaching, because it's all about the process. It's not about the concept or not the content. It's about the process you have to follow to run a coaching session. So if you guys want, maybe not second session, maybe third session, any time, because subject to some timing availability, I can show you some of the models what I've learned. So that would be fine.
Atanu, is it today or later on?
Later, I mean next week or maybe subsequent week, as I said. Yeah.
We can keep a specific session from you on that.
So it's a coaching is very interesting. I mean, I would say coaching is very, for leadership excellence. Coaching is the only thing. Coaching is the best way you can.
What tools do you use for coaching?
So it's not a tool. So as I said, that this facilitator, both of them they have created a very simple 5-step model for coaching. And in simple word, if I have to tell you, like when you're coaching to your employees, right? The first step is like, where are we today? So what is the current state now? And what is the future state you want to achieve? So that is what the journey as a coach you have to take for any situation, any scenario. And in that, there would be some obstacles, some blocks, something like that. So what are these? As a coach, you are asking a powerful question to uncover that blocks and challenges. Then after that, you are asking the same question to employees, that what are the resources or what are the support they need in order to remove these obstacles and blocks. And the last part, once everything's aligned, you know that this is the support is available. Then as a coach, you are again ensuring that what action he's taking, because end of the day, as a coach, you have to do everything. Coach will only ask the right question. Versus a mentor is like, mentor will share with you his experience. And coach is, you are asking the right question so that you are empowering that, or you are uncovering the complete potential of this guy. So that is a very simple 5-step model. And then you can become a coach also. Sometimes you become a trainer. Sometimes you become a mentor. Sometimes you become your Pathfinder, whatever you call it. So there are various ways as a coach during this coaching process, you can do this. So very simple model. This was developed by them. It's very expensive when we learned that, but I have learned this, so I can utilize some of them learning. So it's developed by them, owned by them only.
Guys, I will have to apologize. I really enjoyed, this assembly so much, but the stack of patients are around. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Abir. Thanks for your great presentation today.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So the question again, how we will make it better? So I think Tanu will add the coaching part. Definitely, maybe in the next session, we will have like 30 minutes from Tanu to let us teach what we can learn from him. But especially for the next week, let's say we have week 2 study. Shall I just put the random names again and send it to everyone? This is the agenda, or we can make it somehow better. So someone is saying, okay, I will take care of this part and I will take care of this part.
I think we should start taking care of certain parts. Otherwise, it will become.
And I would say, I think assignment discussion or the course discussion for week 2 is very important as well. So I think we are revisiting once again, so I can see the video. So that would be good. And if somebody can, like today, what Abid did. So creating some of the slides or just the assignment itself, if they can come and present also their thought. That will give us opportunity to understand, revisit our discussion, revisit our thought. So I would say that week 2, because week 1 is done, week 2 assignments plus videos, and basis that if somebody wants to come and present, and we can keep AOB, other business.
Okay, what I will do, I will create one, kind of template, and I will share with all of you. So wherever you want to put your name and you are confident that you will present that part, just put your name and share with me back. So then at the end of the week, by Thursday or by maybe Friday, I will put the agenda. Okay, this is what we are going to do. I think maybe it would be right.
Yeah.
Sure, makes sense. Mustafa, also, what are we agreeing on? One will be on weekday and one will be same thing on a weekend. So whoever wants to catch wherever, that's what we agreeing, right?
No problem. We can do it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Saurabh, can I have one request? Is if you've got data scientists in your organization, can you just tell us anything that they do actually? What do they do in practical terms on a day-to-day basis? Because we've got the theory now, but that will be quite useful for the next session.
Yeah, so there are 2 levels of data scientists in my organization. One is in terms of who work at the back end of the product. So we have information solutions for our customers, and there is a data scientist group which works in the back end to develop the platform and keep it up and updated on a regular basis. That's part A. Now, we don't get a chance to interact with them directly because they're in the back end. They're based out of London and other parts of Europe. The other team of data scientists is who works on the sales data. So we use Salesforce, and we have a lot of metrics that we have developed, which we use to coach and drive sales performance. And there is a team, mostly it's based out of Amsterdam, which is our headquarters. But I also have a person who works with me based in Singapore for the APAC team. And what we do is that we look at the historical data, which we call as lagging indicators, all the data in terms of the sales performance, what has individual has closed in the last 12 months, how much did he sell, which customer this person sold, what was the average order value, what was the conversion rate, how much pipeline this person has. And based on that, this tool, we have a lot of metrics which we actually use to coach a sales team. And the person that I have with me, the data scientist who works with me in Singapore, this person extracts information and insights from the platform on a monthly basis. And I sit with this person to look at the performance of each and every individual that I have as part of my team. So I actually have a team of 100 people in Asia Pacific. So I go through the performance of each and every individual in terms of what has been their performance in the last quarter, how much pipeline do they have for the next quarter, what are their forecasts for the next quarter and the year, whether they'll make their numbers, miss their numbers, what's their conversion rate, how many activities they logged in the last 6 months, 3 months, last 1 week. And also, do they have next steps planned for the next couple of weeks? What kind of interactions, what is the quality of interactions for that matter? So this is what I review with them, and then I actually reach out to the respective managers. There are 6 of them in the region, and I have my discussions with them in terms of where do I see the gaps. So this is a very comprehensive exercise. As I mentioned, there are 100 people in the team, and I'm talking about sales and account managers. So for me, it is important to really analyze that data, and for that, the data scientist plays a very important role. Provide me insights in terms of what's working well, what's not working well, where do we see the gaps, what we need to do in terms of improving the performance. And then I coach the managers so that they can coach their individual team members on the gap areas. So there are 2 aspects, as I mentioned. One is data scientists who work in the back end of the product, and the data scientists who look at the sales metrics and the sales data. Ashish, did I answer your question?
Yep. No, thank you. That is really useful. I might check with you offline and maybe pick your brains for some of the parameters you use, because I'm quite interested in seeing how data science can really drive this process in sales management.
I'll just add one more point to what I shared with you, Ashish, and others. We also have data scientists in the region, in Asia Pacific, because what we look at is in terms of, we have a lot of information around the research performance of institutions and countries and individuals. And what this group of data scientists does is that they create reports, analytical reports on a country level or on an institution level on their research performance, what has been their strengths and weaknesses and the areas that they should invest in. For example, all of you would have heard about the UN's sustainability goals. So what the data scientist does, they look at the information that is available with us and then extract insights, and they've created reports for institutions and countries which we give to the governments to look at in terms of their strengths and where they should be focusing on in the next 3 years in line with the UN's sustainability goals. So that's another way wherein we use data, big data, to create analytical reports for governments and institutions.
And Saurabh, if I can ask you the previous question, when you said that you have the data and data scientists, they work at the back end, and is only the historical data what you do, or you do a predictive analysis also? I mean, the forecast or the performance or whatever, productivity.
Yes, we do. We do. I think we do. We have platforms or tools which uses big data in terms of looking at the historical data, but at the same time, they also predict or they give recommendations. So for example, I'll give you a small example. So I'm taking an example of University of Cambridge. So University of Cambridge might be very strong in behavioral economics, and they have a very strong department wherein they have good researchers and faculty. The system actually tracks in terms of whom are they collaborating with. So University of Cambridge might be collaborating with London Business School on behavioral economics. So we have that, we can actually showcase in terms of who are your collaborators. But then they're not collaborating with someone in, let's say, China. And China, say, Peking University has a very strong department in behavioral economics, but there's no collaboration happening. So the platform actually predicts and tells them that, okay, fine, you should collaborate with this department in Asia because of ABC reasons. That opens up doors for them to increase their international collaboration with other universities.
Wow, very nice. And this is done by the scientists only, data scientists only.
So as I mentioned, there's a platform which actually pulls all this data and runs machine learning methods to really do this analytics and then project and predict these things.
Thank you. It's a pretty interesting subject.
Yes, it's an interesting subject. Yes.
I would like to add one thing. This machine learning, when it comes to us, it was a total alien for me because we are into engineering. We do projects. So, as Mustafa was suggesting, the coming weeks, each one has to participate. Machine learning, I need coaching further. I'm not able to coach anything because all this machine learning was like for us, we don't come across anything to do data from other companies and all. Ours is purely we do engineering projects like MEP, as I told you the other day. We started with HVAC. We do air conditioning for big offices like yours all. So it is new subject altogether. I'm trying to understand where it fits in actually. So with the help of colleagues and friends, I should be able to identify where it actually happening. I don't know how. So this is something new, totally new for us. So I'm trying to.
No, I think I completely agree with you. And if you would have heard me during the last session with Kishore, I mentioned to him that I'm working in this information analytics industry for the last 14 odd years.
Yeah, I do remember.
I'm surrounded by these solutions which have machine in the back end running 24/7. But I'm on the front side.
Yes.
Side wherein I'm actually selling these solutions. But how is the technology working behind it? I think this session was an eye opener for me also because I was able to connect the dots.
Yes.
So I think if certainly I have some colleagues who actually have more technical knowledge in terms of behind the solution. So I'm interacting with them now.
I understand.
Not to them to really understand how our solutions are using machine learning after this whole session. So I had a session with 2 of my product colleagues to really understand from them in terms of how do they do it? How do they use APIs? What kind of machine learning techniques they use? How do they create the platforms on a regular basis? How do they gather data?
Very true, very true.
Saurabh, just a thought. Is it possible to, I don't know if it's possible, but if it is possible to request one of your product guys to do the API session for us? May not be our module, but at least help us understand. See, we've read what is there in the module, seen the videos, but APIs is a very, very vast term. So somebody who's a product guy can explain us really well. It would be great if we can invite one of them. I'm not sure if it's a possibility.
I can check with them in terms of how deep they can actually go in terms of the APIs, but it will be more related to our business.
Sure, it will be interesting to understand how it works, the business side of it. So while we see the theory side of it, maybe for 15-20 minutes if they can spare, and not keep so that we get confused. But yeah, at least the working would be great.
And for Saurabh, I'll go one step ahead. Maybe if you can take the lead and you can train us because you have learned, and then if you can further train us, that would be helpful. The intermediate learning phase, because for me it's also it's a Greek.
I can share some examples based on how we actually extend APIs to our content and data to the users. So for example, I was sharing with you an example of University of Cambridge. So if tomorrow Kishore comes to me and says that, okay, fine, Saurabh, I am doing a research wherein I want to analyze how strong my team of researchers or PhD scholars are on this particular subject. Let's say cell biology for that matter. I'm just quoting an example. And I want to see in terms of what is our strengths, how strong are we? So I want to analyze all the research which I and my team has published in the last 10 years with your organization. Can you give me that data on an individual researcher level? So I'll give them access to that data through APIs, because it's actually, we know what is the purpose. I'll give all the data to them, and then they can actually run algorithms on that to extract the information that they need. So there are other examples also which I can share. I will be happy to do that at some point of time.
Yeah.
So we know who's taking API session now.
Going forward is all machine learning.
Yeah.
So
It's
next
a
one is
complex
API,
subject.
right? Yeah.
No, it's next time. Next is descriptive analytics.
That is of data mining, data cleaning and all.
Yes.
Maybe after
I
that,
think
because
that's
API was for me clearly a bouncer. Honestly, I somehow made it through. But
was-
for me, it was a bouncer.
It was complex for me also. Before this, actually the API section, I spent my entire Sunday on going through the developers' websites, the 6 developers. I spent my entire Sunday to extract information, and that gave me a lot of inputs and information. And then I went back to my colleague. I had a 90-minute session with them just to understand in terms of how we actually extend APIs to our customers.
So it means it is very clear that who is going to teach us API.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
cannot teach.
Absolutely.
I cannot teach. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert, but I can share whatever thoughts, whatever learning I've gathered.
I think, is there anything you want to say, someone?
I think great session, lovely meeting all of you.
Yeah, nice.
And thank you, Ashish.
No, thank you. Of course, we were collectively responsible for this. So thank you, Mustafa, for taking the lead. Thank you, Saurabh, and look forward to hearing from all of you again.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Mustafa. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.